Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, Srila Prabhupada has this wonderful quote in the second canto, third chapter of the 23rd verse in the purport, where he says, in Vṛndāvan, all the pure devotees pray for the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Srimati Radharani is a tender-hearted, feminine counterpart of the Supreme Whole, resembling the perfectional stage of the worldly feminine nature. Therefore, the mercy of Radharani is available very readily to the sincere devotees. And once she recommends such a devotee to Lord Kṛṣṇa, the Lord at once accepts the devotee's admittance into his association. And one thing I wanted to remind everybody, because everyone here is of course familiar with the Hare Krishna mantra. So the Hare Krishna mantra has Srimati Radharani's name there in the word Hare. Prabhupada was often asked, especially at the beginning, what's the meaning of this mantra? And he would say that this is a call to Kṛṣṇa and to Srimati Radharani to please engage me in your service. It's a vocative. Hare is the vocative for Hara. And Hara is a name for Radharani that means she who steals away the mind of Kṛṣṇa. Just as Hari is he who takes away all of our sufferings and like that. And of course, Kṛṣṇa means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all attractive. He has all of these 6 opulences in full. Aishwarasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashashakshya, Jnana-vairagyoschaya, Shannam Bhaga Hitingana. All the wealth, Aishwarasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, all the strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all detachment or renunciation. He is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's the definition given by Parashara Muni, who's the father of Vedavyasa. So, in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find verses called the Mangalacharan, which describe the main subject of the book and goes through Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, Advaitacharya, and gives verses describing them. And then later on in that Adi Leela, the first part of the book, he expounds more on these verses. So one of the verses describes why Kṛṣṇa came as Lord Chaitanya, which is very important. The very third verse of the book describes that Kṛṣṇa is Lord Chaitanya is Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa is God, which is the foundation of our whole faith. So then, why would Kṛṣṇa come down to this world with the mood and the complexion of Srimati Radharani? And so the answer is in this verse, in which he says, in order to understand the glory of Srimati Radharani's love for himself. See, he was in Vṛndāvan, or excuse me, in Goloka, and he was in one of the palaces, and there was some places says a shining pillar, or the floor was so beautifully polished that he could see his reflection. And he says, well, I've never seen such beauty like this. He's looking at his own reflection. And he says, I'd like to taste that beauty from Radharani's point of view, because her love for him is unparalleled. That's the whole essence of Srimati Radharani, which we'll read in a minute. And so she's able to appreciate his beauty more than anyone else. And so he wants to understand the glory of her love, his own qualities from her point of view, and the pleasure she feels from loving him and being loved by him. And this is the motive for Lord Chaitanya appearing. This is the internal motive. And the external motive is to spread the Sankirtan mission for all of the benefit of the conditioned souls who are suffering so much. There's twofold reason. So then the question comes up when Krishna's Kaviraj is explaining that particular verse, well, who is Srimati Radharani? And so I'm going to read a little section from this 4th chapter. Those of you who are familiar with the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you probably have read this in the Adi Leela, and I highly recommend this Chaitanya Charitamrita. This Chaitanya Charitamrita describes as the postgraduate study of bhakti. The basic study is Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita we should study regularly. We have our evening class. You're welcome to come physically or online Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the evening starting at 7:15. And this gives us the basic philosophy and the understanding who is Kṛṣṇa, who we are, what the relationship is, and why it's so important to try to get out of this material world and go back to Godhead, because it's a world of suffering, birth, old age, disease, and death. But it's all very concise. After all, it's right before the war. There's not a lot of time to, extrapolate. Very concise. So then the Srimad Bhagavatam expands on all these themes. In fact, some of you may not know there's a Gita, there's a Kṛṣṇa Gita in the Bhagavatam called the Vṛndāvan Gita in the 11th canto near the end, in which Kṛṣṇa expands on many of the themes that he teaches in the Bhagavad Gita. Very nice, very important part of it. But then the Chaitanya Charitamrita kind of begins from the end of the Bhagavatam. Many of the themes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita are there in the Bhagavatam. But the explication of the highest levels of prema bhakti, as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and shown by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in this 4th chapter, Kṛṣṇa is explaining who Srimati Radharani is. And I'm going to read this section here, that's kind of the essence of it. And I'm not going to read all the purport, so just a little section, it'll take a few minutes. So beginning in text 68 of the 4th chapter, the essence of Ladani. Now it's important to understand some of these technical terms. The Kṛṣṇa in the spiritual world, he has these internal potencies by which he maintains the whole, the different abodes in that spiritual world, Vaikuntha, which means the place where there's no anxiety. Wouldn't it be nice to be in a place where there's never even a tinge of anxiety? This is Kunta Loka, that's Vaikuntha Loka. So the highest planet there is Goloka Vṛndāvan. So how is that place maintained? It's described in the Bhagavad Gita that here everything is maintained by the 3 modes of nature and these material energies. We're all familiar with them. We may not know the technical terms, but everyone knows solid matter, and there's liquids, and there's air, there's gases, there are space where everything is accommodated, and of course fire, electricity, energy, subtle matter, like the mind, intelligence, ego. These are the raw materials of this material world. But in the spiritual world, it's not like that. It's the saying differently. So it describes he has these 3 internal energies. He says, Ladani, Sandani, and Samvit. Ladani energy is the pleasure energy, and Srimati Radharani is the personified pleasure energy. We'll get into that a little bit in the reading. And then there's the Samvit energy, which is the knowledge potency. And there's the Sandani potency, which is the existence potency, overseen by Balaram. That's why anyone who comes to the temple, sometimes they come and they're chanting japa, and of course they may lean against the wall, and I come and I say, try not to lean against the wall. We give them a little cushion, because this whole temple is a manifestation of Balaram. He's sustaining all of these things, the fans and the paraphernalia for worship. This is this expansion of Lord Balaram, the Sandani potency, all the things there, the very forms of the gopīs and Kṛṣṇa and everyone is sustained by this. But the Ladani potency, the pleasure potency, is personified by Srimati Radharani. And this is described in the beginning, another verse, Radha Kṛṣṇa Pranaya Vikritir Ladani Shakta Rasmad. That Radha is a transformation of love for Kṛṣṇa. Personified love. So I'm going to read this. It's all quite esoteric, obviously. But this is Srimati Radharani. All the other gopīs and then all the other devotees are expansions of her, and they have their own individual ways in which they serve Kṛṣṇa and please Kṛṣṇa, and in different rasa or different relationships. And that's what the spiritual world is. So here it says, the essence of that Ladani potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion or bhava, and the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhava, and that's who Srimati Radharani is. Sri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of mahabhava, the highest intensity and volume of love for Kṛṣṇa. She is the repository of all good qualities and the quest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Of these, and then there's a verse here quoted from the Ujjvala Nilamani, which I won't give the Sanskrit. Of these 2 gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is the embodiment of Mahabhava, and she surpasses all in good qualities. Her mind, her senses, and her body are steeped in love for Kṛṣṇa. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helps him in his pastimes. And I'll just read this little section from the purport. Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Kṛṣṇa. No one should consider her to be material. She is definitely not like the conditioned souls who have material bodies, gross and subtle, covered by material senses. She is all spiritual, and both her body and her mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual, thus her body, mind, and senses fully shine in love for Kṛṣṇa. She is the personified Ladini Shakti, which I explained, and therefore she is the only source of enjoyment for Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from him. Therefore, Radha and Kṛṣṇa are identical. The Sandhini portion of, as I explained, Sri Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Kṛṣṇa, and the same internal potency and Ladini feature has presented Radharani, who is the attraction for the all-attractive Lord. No one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastimes of Kṛṣṇa. And then he quotes his famous verse, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pradibhavitabhis, from the Brahma Samhita. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm Goloka with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and who embodies the ecstatic potency Ladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. So then Krishna's Kaviraj writes, now please listen to how Lord Krishna's consorts help him taste rasa and how they help in his pastimes. Now this concept of rasa, of course, is central to Krishna consciousness. And rasa is given the word by Bhaktisiddhanta mellow, which really isn't even in the dictionary as a noun. You know, so it's, mellow means, or rasa means the feeling or the pleasure that we derive in relationship with others. And we have experience of that here, at least in a shadow form. For instance, a mother's love for a child. Very intense, very protective, and very selfless. Prabhupada said that it's the closest thing we have to pure devotion for Kṛṣṇa, which is meant to be completely selfless. It means taking pleasure just in the pleasure of the beloved. That's the essence of bhakti. Have no other desire. So what is a mother? Little baby is like 6 weeks old or something. She's taking care of the child, making sure he's comfortable, well fed, that everything is fine. And what is what's the reciprocation? There's no reciprocation from the baby. It's just that the mother is happy the child is well fed and is healthy and safe, and that's the pleasure of the mother. Completely selfless. So Prabhupada said this is the closest we have in this material world. So imagine a world where all the gopīs, all the cowherd boys and parents, all the rasas are there. Parental ras. There's also sakya ras. We've all had good friends, and we all have good friends. And we relate to them, and we want to help them, and we want to, make them happy and pleased, and have fun with them. And there's also dasya ras. Krishna, some of his coward boyfriends, they're in a mood of more service, and Balaram is more in the mood of protection because he's a little older, so he has a tinge. The rasas are very intricate. They're not all pure. They can be servanthood with a tinge of friendship and this like that. So then there's the gopīs. Who have this conjugal ras with Kṛṣṇa, but it's hidden. So it's not. Prabhupada describes it. I just heard a lecture every morning. I listen to 1 or 2 lectures, and he was describing. Many of you are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, where Kṛṣṇa begins describing an upside down banyan tree, right, with the roots up and the branches down. So Prabhupada says, where can you see such a tree? Okay, you go to a nice pond that's very, very quiet, and on the other side of the pond, near the bank, is growing a tree. Well, if it's daytime, you look, and there's everything upside down. The highest point of the tree is down, and the roots are up. So this whole world is a reflection, and Prabhupada used that phrase many often, perverted reflection. It's not an exact reflection of the spiritual world, and that's why. When we forget Kṛṣṇa, this is how we came to the material world, and we become absorbed in the things of this world, we can become so intensely attracted to different things, the opposite sex and so many other things. We can become completely obsessed with that. And because they have this intense attraction to Krishna in the spiritual world, but here it's reflected here. But because, Prabhupada explains, or Krishna's Kaveri says, when that Ladini Shakti is try to expand it from us in this material world, it becomes the source of our misery. It becomes the source of our suffering. Because we become attached, and then the body is just a machine. You leave it, and you have to begin all over again, and you have these unfulfilled desires and your karma and all these different things. This is not our natural state. The whole idea is let's get back to our original state, go back home, back to Godhead. We all have a place in Krishna's Leela, as in one of those rasas, especially custom made for us. We're all individuals. And we want to try to, Bhakti Yoga is a process of rediscovering that and finally living in it. And actually every moment thinking of that, Prabhupada says. It may take more than one lifetime, but we should be determined to make as much progress as possible. So then he says, now please listen how Krishna's consorts help him taste rasa and how they help in his pastimes. The beloved consorts of Krishna are of three kinds: the goddesses of fortune, the queens in Dwarka, and the milkmaids of Braja, who are foremost of all. All of these consorts precede or expansions of Srimati Radharani. Just as the fountainhead Krishna is the cause of all incarnations, so Radha is the cause of all these consorts. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Rādhikā, and the queens are reflections of her image. So this gets kind of technical. I'm not going to get into detail. But they're all expanding from her. The goddesses of fortune are plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhava Vilas. It's a technical term. But the queens are Vaibhava Prakash, and that means they're all individual. So like you read the Krishna book, Krishna marries Rukmini, and then he marries Lakshmana, and there's all of these different queens, and they're all individuals. But they're all expansions from Srimati Radharani, ultimately. But they have their individual personalities. That's Vaibhava Prakash. The Braja Devis have diverse bodily features. They are her expansions and her instruments for expanding rasa. Without many consorts, there is not such exaltation in rasa. Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes. Among the various groups of consorts in Braja who have varieties of sentiments and mellows, they help Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his consorts. This is one famous verse in Bengali. So just a little sidelight, as Bhaddi Ramaswami would say. When Lord Chaitanya went to visited Vṛndāvan, he had difficulty getting there. There's a whole pastime, but he started, then he couldn't go, and finally goes. And it's quite a description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 17, 18, I think. And he goes there, and these two parrots come down, and they alight on the branch nearby him. And they start having an argument. The female parrot, the Shari, and the Shuka, the male. And one is the female parrot is chanting verses describing how Radharani is enchanting Krishna, and the Shukas say no. Krishna is enchanting Radharani. You see. So who do you think finally wins the argument? The Shari. Shri Rādhikāya priyata surupita sushilata narganagana chaturi gunani sampat kapita charajre jagan mano mohana chitta mohini. So the last line means this. Krishna is known as Jagan Mohana, mean he who bewilders and enchants the whole universe. He's so attractive and so enchanting. But Radharani is the one who enchants, the enchanter of the whole universe. How? Priyata, first of all with her love. Surupita, with her beauty. Sushilata, with her spotless behavior and character. Sushilata. Nartanagana Chaturi, her expertise in singing and in dancing. Gunali Sampat, she's a veritable treasure house of good qualities. Kavitacha Rajate, which includes poetic ability and all these different things. And in all of these things, he completely enchants Krishna. He wants to be enchanted. He expands himself. It's his own Shakti. But he enjoys being enchanted. And then there's so many varieties. You know, Krishna will be late to the rendezvous, and Radharani will go off in a huff. So I'll never meet him. I'll never see him again. You know, which just adds to the whole mystery of it, the adventure. What can Krishna do to, appease Radharani and all these different things? So this is in the high literature that the Goswamis have written, and it's all available. It's the Chaitanya Charitamrita is a pinnacle. It has everything in it. You get to the Antya Leela, and there's the highest levels of Krishna's love, Radha's love for Krishna in separation. This is there in the Shikshastika, where near the end he's completely in the mood of Radharani. These verses, by the way, just for information, these were written not as an ashtaka. These are all written by Lord Chaitanya at different times, different places. And Kṛṣṇdas Kaviraj, he collected them all from the Padyavali, which is Rupa Goswami's favorite verses. There's over 400 verses in there. He wrote a few of them, most of them by others. And they were put in this order, progressive order. And at the end there, describing Lord Chaitanya's complete mood. This famous verse, Yugayitam nimeshena chakshusha pravashahitam shunyahitam jagatsavam govinda vidahename. Every moment drags on like 1,000,000 years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes, the tears and torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. Oh, Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. And then Lord Chaitanya, in that CC, at the very end, 20th chapter, he gives a whole explanation of a commentary on the next verse, which is the Radharani's. She says, Ashli Shiva Padadatang Banashtamam Darshanan Mamahatang Karodava Yatata Baba Datata Lampato Mat Prananatas Tutaheva Napara. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me or my most ardent hopes defeat by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint. So let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Kṛṣṇa is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. Now where do you find that in a material relationship? You get jilted by a girlfriend or boyfriend, you get on the internet, you write all kinds of nasty things, you know, they become your arch enemy, right? But Radharani says, no, let Kṛṣṇa, he goes off to Dwarka. He says, I'll be back, I'll be back. He doesn't come back for 100 years. Meanwhile, they're pining away in Vṛndāvan, but they never say, let's not talk about Kṛṣṇa, talk about something else. There's a verse like that in the Kṛṣṇa Karnamrita. He says, talk about something else, auspicious. I don't want to talk about Kṛṣṇa anymore. But alas, alas, he's in my heart, his beauty, it's like that. So this is Radharani. The transcendental goddess Radharani is the direct counterpart of Kṛṣṇa. She's the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses the all-attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She's the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Okay, it's getting a little late. So what we're going to do now, I have two things prepared, two folders here, or presentations. One is the Rādhikā. This is again the Shuka and the Shari, but this time it's in the Govinda Lilamrita. The same author, Kṛṣṇas Kaviraj. He became Kaviraj by right. Kaviraj means the king of poets, or it's an epithet for someone who really can write poetry. So he got that from writing this Govinda Lilamrita, which is quite amazing. So within the Govinda Lilamrita, there's again the Shuka and the Shari singing, and the Shari is singing a beautiful ashtaka, praying for the service of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So I'd like to share that with you. I put it into poetry. I brought my own music box here. And then there's a very special little poem written by Rupa Goswami called the Ananda Chandrika, the moonshine of bliss, which is 10 names of Radharani. Just 10 names, 2 little verses. And then it gives the benefits. Anyone who recites this, so we're going to go word by word. It's so short. So I want you to try to say the Sanskrit, and I have it on the screen. And then the benefits are, you become completely free of all suffering, you get showered with good fortune, and you very quickly become the object of mercy for Radha and Madhava. Just for these 2 verses. It's like Radharani has made it as easy as it possibly can be. So we can all chant that one, and she promises that you... But before we do that, let's do the Rādhikā. Let's see. And I think now we can shut these lights off. And so I hope you all recognize it. And let's see if I can get this going. Right on beat. Tapas Prabhu. You know, a lot of people know Tapas. He's on a vacation. He went to India. He only got a week off. He went to India. He's going to be back in a week, but he's not here right now, so we're on our own. Okay. So here's how it goes. Can everyone see that? Kunkumakta kanchanam jagava hari goraba pitananchi tabja ganda kirti nindi soraba ballavesha suna sava vanchi tarta sadika maya matma parapunma dasa dastu Rādhikā. Everyone know what it means? No, that's why I wrote this poem. Her gold complexion steals the pride of golden lotus tinged with red. Her fragrance mocks the scent of lotus bloom with saffron butter spread. Her skill in satisfying Sri Hari is perfect and complete. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Everyone. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gauranga kandi nindi chitta patta shatika, Kṛṣṇa matta bringa keli pulla pushpa vatika, Kṛṣṇa nitya sangha mata padma bandhu Rādhikā, Maya matma pada padma dasa dastu Rādhikā. Her wondrous silken garments shame the splendor rubies can display. She is a blooming garden where the bee of Kṛṣṇa loves to play. She worships Surya every day, so she and Madhava can meet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her. Everyone. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Saukhamaya Srishtam Pallavali Kirti Ningraha, Chanda Chandanotpalendu Sevya Shita Vigraha, Swabhimasham Ballavisha Kamatapa Bharika, Maya Matma Pada Padma Dasya Dastu Rādhikā. Eclipsed by Radha's tenderness, the fame of budding blossom dims. The moon, a lotus, sandal paste, and camphor serve her cooling limbs. When Kṛṣṇa burns with love desire, the soothing touch dispels the heat. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Vishvabandya yovitabi vanditapi yarama, Rupa navya yovanari sampadane yatsama, Shilahara lilayata sayatosti narika, Maya matma pada padma dasya dastu Rādhikā. Though youthful goddesses adored by all adore the goddess Shri, she lacks Shri Radha's beauty, youth, and every other quality. So when it comes to lover sports, with no Radhika no one can be. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. So when it comes to lover sports, with Radha no one can compete. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Rasa Lasa Gita Nama Satkalali Pandita, Prema Ramya Rupa Vesha Sadgunali Nandita, Vishwanamya Gopiyo Shadali Topi Yarika, Maya Matma Pada Padma Dasa Dastu Rādhikā. Within the rasa dancer singing and her joking are the best. She shines with countless traits divine, like love and gorgeous form and dress. Among the famous gopīs of Vṛndāvan, she's supremely sweet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Nityanamya Rupa Keri Krishna Bhava Sambada, Krishna Raga Bandha Gopeyo Vateshu Kampada, Krishna Rupa Vesha Keli Lagna Satsamarika, Maya Matma Para Padma Dasa Dastu Rādhikā. Eternal pastime, beauty, youth, and love for Krishna make her rich. The loving gopis tremble just to see her love at highest pitch. Her meditation on Shri Krishna's form and pastimes is complete. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Sweta Kampa Kanta Kashu Gangadhari Sanchita, Marsha Harsha Vamatari Bhavam Bhushan Anchita, Krishna Netra Toshi Ratna Mandanali Dharika, Maya Matma Para Padma Dasa Dastu Radhi. Perspiring, trembling hairs on end, and crying, faltering of the voice, impatience, joy, and godly signs of rapture make her friends rejoice. For Krishna's eyes, these many gem-like ecstasies provide a treat. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Yachanarda Krishna Viprayoga Santatodita, Nikadainya Chapalari Bhava Vrinda Modita, Yatna Lambda Krishna Sangha Nikita Keladika, Maya Matma Pada Padma Dasa Dastu Rādhikā. Apart from Krishna for a moment, Radha feels anxiety and restlessness and other moods, the highest kind of ecstasy. But when she meets him with some effort, all her sufferings retreat. May Rādhikā bestow the service of her lotus feet. May Rādhikā bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Ashtakene Yasvanena Nauti Krishna Vallabham, Darshanepi Shailajari Oshadadi Durlabham, Krishna Sangha Nanditatma Dasa Sidhu Bhajanam, Tam Karoti Nanditali Sanchaya Usajin. Exalted goddesses like Parvati can hardly ever see Shri Krishna's lover Rādhikā, but if a humble devotee recites these verses, then Shri Radha, who enjoys with Shri Hari, will pour the nectar of her service down on him eternally. Will pour the nectar of her service down on him eternally. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Go Premanande. Oh. So may you all attain service to Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. And now, if you'll just indulge me another 5 minutes, and the feast will be there. I'm sorry to hold you up. But, let's see. Escape. Okay. And we're going to do that little poem. It'll just take 3 or 4 minutes. And then you very quickly get the mercy of Radha Madhava. Definitely worthwhile. Okay. Back to the top. And now, Ananda Chandrika. So this is Ananda Chandrikaya, Radha Dasa Namastotra, prayer containing 10 names of Radha and bearing the title The Moonlight of Bliss by Srila Rupa Goswami. So we're going to do this word by word, so you get to say it. Try to say the Sanskrit. Radha, Damodara, Kṛṣṇa, Rādhikā, Varshabhanavi, Samastaballavi, Vṛndāvan, Mallika. So these are the first 5 names. Radha. All right, 2. Then I'll just read the translation. You can read along. She who is dear to Lord Damodar. 3. His greatest worshipper. 4. The daughter of King Vrishabhanu. 5. She who is the crowning garland of Mallika flowers on the decorated braided hair of all the gopīs. Sorry about the double of there. I'm an editor, but I missed that one. Next. Kṛṣṇa, Priyavali Mukhya, Gandharva, Lalita Sakhi, Vishakha, Sakya Sukini, Harihrid, Bringamanjari. 6. She's the foremost of Lord Krishna's beloved. 7. An expert singer and musician. 8. Lalita's friend. 9. She who is delighted with the friendship of Vishakha. And 10. The flower blossom that attracts the black bee of Lord Hari's heart. So there's the 10 names. You chanted them. Now, what are the benefits? I'll just read these myself. Imam Vṛndāvaneshaya Dashanama Manorama Ananda Chandikam Nama Yorahasyan Sutim Patet Saklesha Rahito Budva Bhuri Saubhagya Bhushitaha Tvaritam Karuna Patram Radha Madhavayo Bhavet. That person who recites this confidential prayer, which bears the title Ananda Chandrika, the moonlight of bliss, and which is beautified by 10 names of the Queen of Vṛndāvan, becomes free of all troubles and decorated with great good fortune. That person quickly becomes the object of Shri Radha Madhava's mercy. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So, that's our presentation for this evening. Thank you for listening. And Jai Radhe Shyam. Hari Bol. And now if we could bring the lights up, and we'll proceed.
Yes, go ahead. That was very sweet.